Welcome to episode 4 of my Allotment Diaries. It's Saturday the 29th of April and we're back at the allotment to make the rest of the raised beds, fill them with compost and make the paths and hopefully get planting. So we'll see how we get on. Craig has been using the level base of his van to put the beds together. We learnt this the hard way. We tried the first one or two doing it on the ground and it was a bit of a nightmare and almost caused arguments. He's using his nail gun, but you could just use nails and a hammer. So the ground's very wonky, so we're marking out the edge of the bed. And then I dig out around, which quite frankly has been the worst job of it all and has taken me the longest because it's really hard to get it to the right depth and I kept doing it wrong. But we got there in the end. We then put the bed back into place. We've got these little wood pieces that Craig has used to make sure all the beds are the same width, and then he's just checking to make sure they're now nice and level. What's it looking like? Once they're all level, we're using these stakes to keep it all in place. Please don't judge my hammering. I'm not very good at this sort of stuff. Craig's the builder, I'm the planter and the grower. Fun fact, I did actually catch his hand at one point. Then we're using the nail gun again just to put them in place. And once all the stakes are in and we're happy, we then screw them in properly. The 8 larger beds are now completed, so we're on to the 4 middle smaller beds. These ones I'm going to use for little salady bits like lettuce, radishes, spring onions and some strawberries. And they're all done. I'm absolutely loving them. I love the uniformity of them. So I've got some strawberries planted out. I've got some onion sets. Some started last year and some new ones. I've got some leeks planted out. Lastly, I've got a globe artichoke in each of the 2 far corners. Next is getting the paths done. So I'm using, it's the coir, the cocoa matting. And then on top we're going to put the cocoa chips. So hopefully this will keep the weeds down. It gets quite boggy, so it'd be nice for us to walk on without getting kind of really muddy shoes. These have kindly been supplied by Coir Products UK. Craig's carrying on with the paths while I'm making a little kind of net structure, very temporary, to stop the birds from picking out the onion sets. It's the only empty container we've got, so we're filling the water butt with a couple of cans of water, and then we're adding, it's like a 5 kilogram block of the cocoa chips, and this should all rehydrate and be a little bit easier to pull apart and then spread along the paths. In the end, it took 8 of these blocks to do the internal paths. I must admit, I think it was this bit that was probably the longest in terms of doing the paths, because it did take a while for them to rehydrate, and at times we were putting 2 in and I think that might have been a bit too much to get water into the centre, and we probably wasn't leaving it long enough either. So the good thing about using this water butt is we can drain the water out when we're done. In hindsight, this first lot was too watery, and then I think later ones weren't watery enough. It's Wednesday the 3rd of May, I think it is. I'm back at the plot again and I'm on my own this time, and I'm hoping to finish all of the paths and finish all of these raised beds, get them kind of weeded, cardboard down, compost in, and yeah, hopefully get some brassicas planted out and some kind of temporary netting, because I do know apparently we've got a big issue with pigeons here. All in all, we've done quite a lot of weeding of the beds and paths, and probably not as much as we should have, but I'm planning to do no dig, so I've got a load of cardboard to go down first before the compost. I've tried to get up as many of the docks as I could, and I've left some of the grass because I know that's easier to rot down. And halfway through, my plot neighbour gave me some of his lettuce seedlings, bless him, which was lovely. Back at it with the weeding. This doesn't feel like normal grass. I've heard people talk about couch grass before. I don't know if I've ever experienced it or not, so please let me know if this is couch grass or not. It was really tough. And before anyone comments and says it, I know I shouldn't bend down quite so much as I do, but it just feels more comfortable. And the first few layers of cardboard are going down on these beds. I've tried to take off as much plastic or tape as I could. I probably left little bits, but hopefully I got it all. In between doing the beds, I keep checking on the water butt with the cocoa chips and adding more water if needed. In some of the beds, I'm putting well-rotted farmyard manure down, and then I'm topping with compost. And in some of the beds, I've just put compost because I know some vegetables aren't particularly keen. I think like root vegetables aren't. It's around this point I realised I'd forgot to water the cardboard before putting the manure in, so better late than never, I suppose. This will help it start decomposing. Now all the beds are full. I'm just missing one bag of compost for second to the back on the left, and now it's just doing more weeding of the paths. So there's a lot of dock. You can see I haven't got them all. To be honest, I've just had enough by this point, so I'm doing what I can, and I'm happy to keep digging them out if and when they appear. Time for more chips to go down. I love the look of the coir chips. I think they match the raised beds really well. I intend to top the paths up each year and yeah, just see how I get on with them really. While I wait for more chips to be ready, I'm going to plant out my brassica seedlings. So these ones I believe are cauliflower. The next to me is cabbages, and at the back we've got some kale. I plant my brassicas fairly close together. I don't really measure it, I kind of eyeball it, but a few, like maybe 3 fists difference. Because I'm quite happy to grow more smaller heads than less bigger heads, as I find it's just easier to use and store. I have been warned that there is a serious problem with pigeons at this plot, so I'm going to make a little net structure after this, and hopefully that will keep them protected until I can come back and make some proper ones with the scaffold netting I've ordered on eBay. This will hopefully also keep the cabbage white butterflies from laying their eggs, because the caterpillars can absolutely decimate brassicas. I'm now back to it with the paths. It doesn't look as pretty as when Craig did the initial few, and that's because it's really tough stuff. And we blunt a few now. I think Craig actually broke his knife. We've blunt some scissors, so I've ended up ripping it. I haven't measured it. It looks really messy, but I'm sure it'll be fine. Craig was not impressed when he watched this, by the way. He likes things done properly, whereas I'm a little bit more rough it and just get it done and worry about fixing it later. I put a few pegs in to try and keep it down and together. Now it's all layered up and there's bits everywhere. Hopefully they make a difference. You can see here how it's still a little bit dry in the middle. It probably could have done with another soak, but I'm so close to finishing. And we're done. So we've got the onions, the leeks, and then I've also put some broad beans in, and right at the back I've built two climbing bean structures. The strawberries, and then I've got some more broad beans here, and I've planted a load of beetroot seeds. The collies and the cabbages, the kales, more broad beans. And and then I've also planted out some radish seeds. So it's all looking, I'm happy with it. It's looking good. If you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe and leave a comment if you're feeling extra nice.